A single mother, Ikebulam Ogochukwu, is seeking justice after her landlord removed the roofs of her house over unpaid rent. Mr. Ogochukwu lives at number 20 Post Office Road by YKC in Woji, Obiakpo local government area. In an interview with correspondent Emeko Tuka, said she and her 3 children have been stranded since Thursday last week when the landlord directed that the roof of her 1-bedroom apartment be removed. She said rain has destroyed all her properties since the incident happened, and she said the matter has been reported to the police, the Woji police station.
The rent is 300,000. And I was working, thinking that, okay, that was why I had to talk to the landlord. I pleaded with him that he should please look at the way things happen, look at my condition. He should please assist me. So instead, he was threatening that he would remove my roof. I thought it was a joke until he now did it. Even the carpenter he called, he was telling the man that, okay, these one things are inside here. People should just allow her to. He said he gave them go ahead that they should remove the roof. He saw me packing the water, the rain, everything, bailing outside this.
But she also called for support to enable her to provide accommodation for her 3 children.
I'm calling on the general public and Nigerian government to assist me because the burden is too much on me. Thursday now that the rain has been falling, my things are damaged, everything. I had to take my children to a relative space so that I will be able to help myself.
Meanwhile, efforts by our correspondent to speak to the landlord, Obinna Eze, has not been successful as he has not responded to calls and text messages. A 55-year-old pastor identified as Pillar has been arrested for allegedly defiling and impregnating a 15-year-old girl in Ndele community, Emoa local government area of Rivers State. The spokesperson of the Rivers State Police Command, SP Grace Iringe Koko, confirmed the arrest by the operatives from the Rumoji Police Division following a complaint by Amesi Thangod, a relative to the minor. Mr. Thangod spoke on how the pastor pleaded that the pregnancy be terminated.
If your mother go farm at church now, nothing carry for mind. The day they go that place, go relax. Then evening time she will come back. So instead of these few days, the guy was vomiting before my wife took her to test. After texting her pregnant, and they get mentioned the man named Pillar. So when they took her to the man's house, the man agreed that whatever thing will happen there, they should allow him that he will bring out his drugs for her to drink so that he will flush the stomach for her to be free. And flushing her now, the girl may die.
Meanwhile, National Coordinator, Human Rights Advocacy Group Center for Basic Rights Protection and Accountability Campaign, Prince Wiro, has urged the police to investigate the case without bias. The Rivers State Police Commissioner, Nwonyi Emeka, has urged police officers to always promote the image of the force. CP Emeka gave the charge while decorating 2 newly promoted assistant commissioners of police serving in the state at the officers' mess in Port Harcourt. He thanked the acting Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, for finding the officers worthy and deserving of their new ranks. CP Nwonyi Emeka also promised that the Rivers State Police Command will work with the force headquarters to achieve all the innovations of the IGP in crime fighting to create a better society. Our correspondent reports that the two newly promoted officers are ACPs Dayabu Ahmed and Kingdom Otuonye. Away from that now, former spokesperson of the Rivers State PDP Campaign Council, Ogbonna Nwuke, is insisting that former Governor Nyesom Wike deserved to be appointed minister, having worked for the unity of the nation. Mr. Nwuke told our correspondent that such appointment from the federal government should not be done on political sentiments.
There's an error. I agree with the people who still are encouraged to do so. How will I be surprised? Governor Wike left a legacy in Rivers State, and everyone knows. And so it comes with experience, good works within our state and outside our state when it comes to management of men and resources, politically speaking. I also stand in a good state for him. So I shouldn't be surprised. In fact, Wike should make the list on account of his performance, on account of his exposure, on account of his experience.
Also, APC chieftain Omiete Eferebo said Mr. Wike deserves any federal appointment because he helped the state to align with the ruling party at the national level.
At the state level, I don't think we have any issue. A political party recognizes the leadership from the schools. I don't think there's any issue as with the leadership in our in Rivers. The only crisis I think we have is, I think if it is a crisis, and I think the court has put all things to rest, and that is the who is the chairman was suspended him, and the court affirmed that I should be acting, so I have not been vacated that order, so I'm still there.
Another APC chieftain in the state, Darlington Muju, said Nigerians would be surprised if the former governor accepts any appointments from a party he had castigated.
To use the word surprise is even an understatement. I think it will amount to another wonder, given the fact that this is someone that had in the past, in the very recent past, defined and described our party with all sorts of negative adjectives. And so, we will be more than surprised if you ask. So I cannot validate whatever statements he has made.
Well, as you may know, former Governor Nyesom Wike has been openly engaging and showing support for the APC with several visits to the president alongside members of the G5 group. Some political party leaders, analysts and election monitoring groups have continued to react to the EU Election Observation Mission report on the 2023 general elections. Political analyst and lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, Obinna Nwodim, called on INEC to sanction erring staff and retrain them on the use of emerging technologies.
INEC should review the activities of its information communication technology and then the training of staff, particularly the ad hoc staff. Not too much time was given for the training of the ad hoc staff. One should think that enough time, 2-3 weeks training of the ad hoc staff, particularly those who are going to man those technology, because you notice that during the elections, you found out that some of the ad hoc staff could not even upload the device machines, so low point in the elections.
Now, on his part, the focal person of an election monitoring group, Yaga Africa, Obinna Egbogidi, advised INEC and the federal government to address the issues raised in the EU report.
The European Union witnessed the election process in the country and their report should not be ignored. It is quite disheartening to see that the government and INEC have joined some desperate politicians and anti-democratic elements to disregard the recommendations from the European Union, who they invited to observe the elections. The reason the civil society community and frontline domestic election observer groups in the country like Yaga Africa have thrown their weight behind the report is because its findings are quite consistent with ours.
Well, the EU had earlier in its report faulted the 2023 general elections, saying that violence, killings and vote buying are some of the factors for its criticism. But the federal government has rejected the report. In another development, a business management consultant, Kletos Ilugo, says Nigerians should not see the 4 executive orders signed into law by President Bola Tinubu to curb arbitrary taxation policy in the country as a form of palliative. Recall that yesterday, the President signed the Finance Act Order 2023, the Customs Excise Tariff Variation Amendment Order 2023, the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services, and the excise duties escalation on locally manufactured products. While others are the newly introduced green tax by way of excise tax on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles, as well as suspension of import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. Mr. Ilugo spoke to our correspondent on this.
We don't look at policy statements. We don't look at strategy as palliative measures. This is an order that is capable of reflecting to boost, project, to revive and resuscitate the economy. However, the effect that we are suffering is part of it, but it goes beyond that. Let us not see from that short-term view. Let's see from the long-term perspective, which is intended for. At that point, we will see the benefits of that measure. But if we look at it from the palliative, and it does not give us an immediate result, from the palliative mindset, we will castigate that policy. The policy is a long-term measure.
Now, on his part, a fiscal policy partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers Coopers PwC Taiwo Oyedele says poor Nigerians will feel the impact of the 4 executive orders as they will not have to pay more for some critical goods and services. Mr. Oyedele in an interview said the prices of some goods and services will not go down, but the executive orders will ensure the prices do not go up as well. But a business analyst, Isaac Owajuno, questioned why the order suspending 5% excise duty on telecommunications service is a big deal. But he said the suspension is not new and has no direct impact on the suffering masses.
The only available service which every Tom, Dick and Harry in Nigeria can afford is a call to either a election or a bus. This is the sector that is taxed by the federal government. Now, the outgone government has actually given a waiver for this tax. Why should we make it an issue of discussion? Now that Nigerians are in dire need palliative, what will 5% tax reduction on excise duty that the outgone government has actually waived, how will it put money in the pocket of Nigeria?
Still to come, House of Representatives warns against raising school fees over student loan. Stay tuned.
The People's Democratic
But yesterday's resolution follows growing concerns that tertiary institutions might increase tuition fees on the heels of the recently passed Students' Loan Act. And in business, the CBN has warned deposit money banks and other financial institutions in the country to be wary of transactions with businesses and persons in the Russian Federation, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Iran, and Cameroon. In a circular issued yesterday by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation, Chibuzo Efobi, he said some financial institutions from those countries had been placed under the high-risk jurisdictions list by the Financial Action Task Force. In entertainment, President Bola Tinubu and former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo have joined 30 million others on Meta's new platform, Threads. But this is as Meta's Chief Executive Officer, Mark Zuckerberg, said the company is setting its sights on 1 billion users soon. Threads, which launched on Thursday in over 100 countries, now has over 30 million users. In sports, the Super Falcons are planning to stage a strike and boycott their opening game of the 2023 Women's World Cup after the General Secretary of the NFF, Mohamed Sanusi, been cancelled. Well, 6 senior players. That means we'll go and look at the highlights of the major stories on this afternoon for allegedly impregnating a minor in Emoha, Rivers State. And Rivers State politicians have reacted to a likely nomination of former Governor Nyesom Wike as a minister. President Bola Tinubu's executive orders are eliciting reactions. The House of Representatives has warned against raising school fees over the Students' Loan Act. And on the foreign scene, fire has killed 6 people in a retirement home in Italy. The news was edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. Mostly cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this afternoon. Remember, peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I'm Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Do stay tuned. Coming up next is The Sunny Side.